So we've named a lot of the stuff that you've been dealing with. Do you give a name to the overall syndrome that you're dealing with, or do you talk about that?
No, well, here's the other thing. I mean, not to make this all about my therapy session.
There was another drama.
So the other thing was I don't. My therapist that I talked to, I ask him straight up. I'm like, so am I borderline? Am I bipolar? Like, am I schizo? Like, there's, all these things. And he's like, well, you have traits of a lot of things. So I can't really say it's one, you're definitely bipolar. I've been on medication to treat bipolar.
Okay.
He goes, but there's also, so my scandal that everyone hated me for this year, and it's still something that like triggers me in a really dark, deep way. And I talk with my boyfriend about it because only people close to me see it, is the dissociative identity disorder, which I've talked about before. And I saw a video about it on YouTube. So I made a reply being like, I think I might have traits of this. Like, this sounds like something that I do. And everybody came for me. It's like, Trisha just wants attention. She's making a mockery out of it. And the original initial video was very sincere. And the minute people thought I was making a mockery of it, then I was like, okay, let me make a mockery of this. And let me just disassociate where I'm like, all of a sudden, like, I'm a little baby. Whatever people wanted to see, I made a mockery of it because I was like trying to say it in a very authentic way. Like, this is what's happening. And I don't go into characters or whatever, whatever that happens to other people. It doesn't happen with me. But when I do go off on people, it's literally like a different person. Any boyfriend of mine, my last boyfriend, Jason, my boyfriend now, will say it's a different person. Like, and I don't know who it is. And like when I said that, everyone's like, fuck you, Trisha, for using mental health as like getting attention and stuff. And it was literally just a reply to someone's video.
I totally agree with you on that one. The amount of shit you got for that was fucked up, because whether you actually have that or not, I mean, who knows? I mean, you could say better, but it's hard. I know it's difficult sometimes to diagnose specific mental disorders, but like the amount of shit people gave you was so messed up, especially considering it's like, I think we can all agree that you're trying to define some kind of issue that you have.
Well, let me help sort of refine it, because she has told us that the person who's seeing her says she doesn't have a diagnosable personality disorder as yet, but she has traits of certain personality disorders, right? And when you talk about the dissociating, which you mentioned earlier, you were suicidal in a dissociative state, right? Mm-hmm. That's sort of more consistent with the borderline stuff, as well as the rages and the inability to control yourself in certain times. That's all sort of borderline stuff. Mm-hmm. And the DBT is designed to treat that. Yeah. Right? So you're in a good therapy for that. Whether or not you have dissociative identity disorder, people argue about whether that even exists. Mm-hmm. Sometimes just people see that as severe borderline. Borderlines can present differently to different people and differently in different mood states. And you're aware you're doing that, right? And the idea, hopefully in therapy, is you sort of integrate all those parts so they don't come apart when you have really intense feelings. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, and that's Yeah. And my therapist had told me the same thing. He's one that doesn't necessarily believe in like the disassociative of like going into different alters, because I don't have.
I've seen some crazy stuff, and you don't have anything like that.
Yeah, right. So I think that's why people are like, no. And so when people said no, then I did troll and make a video where I started going into alters if that's what people wanted to see. But it was clearly a troll. People were upset that I did that, and I get it. I get the upset with that, but that made it triggered from people being like, you don't have this, you don't have this. Meanwhile, everyone's saying you're crazy, you have this, you have everyone diagnosing me. It's like, well,
can I ask you?